Worst thing you've ever done on a first date? Took her to see The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which she had never heard of. So much as rape. There was no second date. How's your butt feeling now? Went on a double date. I was with my girlfriend at the time. She brought a friend, Sarah, and I brought my friend Darren. Sarah was super into Darren. Darren was super not into Sarah. At the end of the date we were all saying goodnight and Sarah kept throwing hints she wanted to go with Darren. Darren looked at her, patted her on the head, and said okay goodnight. Went out with a girl in high school and did the usual. Movie and a dinner. It had been going great up until dinner, when she stumbled over a curb. I went to catch her, and promptly whacked her in the face with my head. This actually broke her nose, which led to me panicking and trying to fix it. Of course that was a bad idea, and I think I made her nose bleed more to be honest. Thankfully she wasn't upset at me. I spent a good half hour freaking out over it. But there was a very awkward and at one point terrifying conversation with her dad when I brought her home. He was a former Marine who served in Vietnam and did the usual scare the bejesus out of the daughter's date by coming out sharpening his kabar knife when I picked her up. Needless to say he really didn't like or trust me after that. The girl and I dated for a year and we're actually still pretty good friends. So I guess it worked out okay in the end. Took this girl that did not look 16 out on a date. She dropped that she was 16 at the time and then I was just like oh. Huh. When we were done with the date and I was driving her home she kept playing songs like I Want You to Want Me on my iPod and she invited me into her house. I hugged her, gave her a weird kiss on the shoulder, and said goodbye. Edit. I was 20 at the time. She was 16. Misera. Age of consent is 17. Which is where I was at the time. Honestly. The kiss on the shoulder was because the date was already awkward. And sometimes when I fall into a black hole of awkwardness, I just spiral into it. On the shoulder? But why? I went on a blind date when I was 16 to dinner and a movie. We went to go see I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I got peer pressured into taking mushrooms for the first time. I'd never done any drugs before. I ate them with a few friends that tagged along for dinner. We went to the movies after dinner. Just us two. Well, at the beginning of the movie Jennifer Love Hewitt wakes up from a nightmare screaming. I proceeded to scream and run out of the theater. The rest of the night for me finished in this order. Called dad from the payphone and told him I was tripping balls. 60s dad. He understood. Stayed in fetal position out front of the theater. Girl's dad picks her up with her crying. He kicks me angrily asking what my problem was. Dad picks me up. Dad drives me home while on the way looking at me and moving his mouth without saying anything just to FCK with me. Dad tells me to go to my room and don't talk to my mom. I have a conversation with my cat and black out. Went on a blind date with a friend of a friend and the first thing out of her mouth was well Sarah wasn't kidding when she said you weren't tall. Spoiler alert. I am fairly short. 5 minutes in. Told me she didn't really see it going anywhere. But proceeded to order a Grey Goose martini and a $30 appetizer for herself. Got up. Said I was going to the bathroom. Paid for my one beer and left. Felt great. Spilt scalding hot coffee on his lap. Surprisingly, we ended up dating for 4 years. There is not a place on a man's body where you can't spill some coffee. Anywhere but the penis. It's not the penis. Q. If it is the penis. Not something I did but something my date did. We went back to my place after dinner. Afterwards, she said something to the tune of I'm not ready to do this just yet. Put on the Daily Show. She starts talking about faith. I tell her I'm Jewish and it's not a big part of my life. She proceeds to download the Bible on my phone while I'm in the kitchen. It wasn't a date. Jehovah's Witnesses are just getting cockier. Date went well. Was walking her home. Would have been another 2 blocks and she said you don't have to walk me home, so I said okay, have a good night. Immediately regretted my decision. We actually ended up dating for a couple months. Fine. The TLDR of it is I laughed too hard. Started coughing. Farted. Pooped a little. It was a deal breaker. Ate salad in such a nervous, clumsy way that I must have looked like an alien trying on a human suit for the first time. Tell them all about my ex, I wasn't over. Wow dude. Bummer. Went to her dorm to hang out and watch a movie. We'd both never seen No Country for Old Men. And her roommate had it. So we watched it. There were no moves made during that movie. All I could think about was the Seinfeld episode about making out at Schindler's List. Recovered though. Luckily she had some horrible rom-com to put in to lighten the mood. That movie is f***ing sick though. You either watch an awesome movie or bang her. Took a girl to Swiss Chalet. Turns out she was vegan. I ordered the bacon cheeseburger anyway. That's her fault. I am vegan. If I'm going to dinner with new people I will ask if we can go somewhere appropriate. If they have their heart set on a steakhouse I will scope out the menu or just plain ask the waiter if they can do a salad without cheese etc etc. If she knew you liked burgers she could have let you know and suggested a place that did something that catered for her too. Unless you're an absolute douche. I'm sure you would have worked around it. Ran over her cat. Take out the competition early. She was so hot and we were slow dancing. Got a boner. We got closer. And it blew. I went weak at my knees and she said go clean yourself up. She was gone when I came back. What a really messy first date. Never saw her again. Immediately after the date, I spent 20 minutes complaining via WhatsApp about how bad the date was. I thought I was talking to my friend with the same name as my date. It was my date and not my friend. I felt shitty about it for weeks. Ended up going back to his house where he lived with his father. In the middle of the night I farted so loud I woke up him, myself, and his dad. Because you can't be blamed for anything you do whilst sleeping. I just stayed as still as possible. When we emerged from the bedroom in the morning, running into his dad, he said, "Son, you woke me up with that one last night." Chuckling away. "Yeah, sorry, Dad. Must have been all the beer," replied my date. Winking at me. We've been together for 3.5 years now and are due to be married in 2017. Got high with some girl then she threw up. Then we went to the cinema and made out. I'm disappointed in myself. Thought I was on a date when I wasn't. Met my current GF on Tinder. We had been talking for about 2-3 weeks before we decided to meet up. Agreed that we would take my motorcycle out for a ride. Took her on a ride to a park about 20 minutes away, and pretty much in the middle of nowhere. We got off the bike, sat at a picnic table and just talked for about an hour. We get up to leave, and I realize I left the lights on the whole time. I'm like, shitty. This battery is going to be toast. Full stop. It was. I spent the next 20 minutes trying to bump start my bike. Awkwardly saying I swear I'm not a serial killer. How I ended up with her is beyond me. The girl said that she's free all day today and I said I have work to finish. Priorities. I'm glad someone around here still knows what that means. On our first date, my boyfriend snot rocketed a huge glob of boogers so hard it splattered on the carpet of the house I was staying in at the time. Poor guy had a bad cold but didn't want to cancel the date. 9th grade. Freshman year of high school. There was a guy that everyone was repeatedly telling me apparently liked me. He had asked if I was going to the school football game a week prior. But I had just chalked it up to friendliness and answered him with an honest no. Eventually got annoyed of hearing it from everyone else. I confronted him with a blunt, "Dude, do you like me or not?" Upon his confirmation, I asked why the hell he hadn't just told me earlier. "I invited you to go with me to the football game, but you said no." "No. You asked if I was going to the game." From that interaction, We decided to go out on a first date. We went to McDonald's, where I paid for everything and the dessert that he wanted. We then went back to the school. I tried to kiss him and he freaked out slightly. I'm talking hyperventilating and muttering to himself. We dated for a few more months before I kissed him a little too passionately one day. And upon his freak out, reconsidered dating him. We broke up the next day. Guy and I agreed we wanted more than a one night stand. Ended up being a one night stand. Pretty sure he played me. I'm pretty gullible. Girl in college had tickets to a rodeo and asked if I wanted to go. I don't like those kind of things, so I got super high beforehand. I hated it. It just seemed like rednecks f-king with animals the whole time. Then one of the horses jumped up and fell on its neck and just laid there lifeless. I started freaking the FCK out because I was pretty sure I just watched a horse die. They had to drag it out of the arena on a fence pulled by a tractor. She insisted that the horse would be okay, but I left and never talked to her again. TL. DR got too high. Prematurely ejaculated. Have we dated? When I was a teenager, I decided I was in love with a girl I was more infatuated with. My honesty got the better of me, and I kinda told her. Creeped her out so quick the butter on our movie's popcorn hadn't dried yet. Sorry, Carrie. Classic schmosby. The standard. Farting in a cupped hand and then throwing it at them. Well, back in college I took this girl out one Friday night. I made an effort. Some cologne. I thought I'd set the mood. So after the date we start making out. She took off my pants, but then I turned on the TV. And that's about the time she walked away from me. I know a girl who was on a first date and was having dinner with the guy someplace. Anyhow, he goes to the bathroom and she finally gets to let loose a well-deserved smelly fart and does so. But this fart was held in for like an hour, so it lingered. When he got back he said, "Can you smell that? Smells like someone shit their pants." She just said she couldn't smell it and was very embarrassed. Lesson to be learned: don't let loose smelly farts during dates. I met this girl online. We met. We hung out for a while. She said that she no longer felt the spark. This was fine. The problem was that I still had the whole weekend with her. I spent that whole weekend trying to get her to kiss me. Constantly begged her to kiss me as I came all of that way for her. She said no. He didn't speak for 6 months afterwards. I then moved in with her best friend. And that original girl still hangs out with me. The original awkwardness has gone. I no longer beg her to kiss me. Went out with this chick to the movies and during the opening credits we started making out like no tomorrow. The only bad part was that she wasn't good at making out, so she had her tongue far deep in my mouth. This went on for like 10 minutes or whatever time it is till the movies start. So the movie starts and I tell her that I'm going to use the restroom. As I'm walking down I realized I had both tickets and that I can just leave her there. I ended up ditching the girl, getting my money back because the movie didn't start, and just probably left her thinking I'm taking a huge dump. Edit. My bad for misspellings, maybe including that one, but I'm stoned right now. Aftermath. The girl ended up telling her friends that I did ditch her, and she went on and lied that I made her give me a hand job and that I fingered her. Re-edit. This was around 7 years ago in case you're wondering, high school sophomore year. It was major douche of me, but now I just remember and laugh about the situation. So there was this really sweet girl my buddy had been interested in but was too afraid to ask out. So donning my Captain Cockblock costume I swooped in and asked her on a date. We went out to eat and I forgot my wallet, so she paid for me. Then went to a party at a mutual friend's house where I got blackout drunk and passed out, and I was supposed to be the DD. My buddy was at the party and seeing my stupidity worked up the courage and asked her out. They dated 3 years. Edit. Just to clarify, I was an accidental wingman. I did not consider looking bad so my friend would look good. I was just got her pregnant, which led to an eventual abortion. I was king of poor decisions. Colon. I'm a serial online dater and I've had my fair share of bad first dates. The best one was when I put Blistex on a cold sore before a date. During the date I got nervous and started biting my lip and the Blistex went into my mouth and made my tongue numb. And consequently difficult to speak without sounding like I was hammered. Apparently tried to pay. Qualifies as bad. Some girl reamed me out for offering to pay. Thing were going great until the check came. Can't f***ing win. I'll tell you when I have it. First dates are essentially auditions to fill the roles of boyfriend girlfriend. You know you made the cut when you get the call back. But never ever talk about your diverse experience during the interview.